Hey, all right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob, Working Gun Reviews. Pardon me. And we are back after a little bit of a break to do more of Netflix's Maniac. We're doing episodes 7 and 8 because they're both only 20-some minutes long. I'm not exactly sure why they didn't just put these two episodes together. They're part of the same cohesive story where they're taking Pill C, so spoilers ahead if you haven't catched these two episodes. It really doesn't make sense. Because they never really break up the episodes before, and there really is no difference. There's usually a certain amount of story in each one, and then they jump to the next thing. And in this, it just didn't make sense to split it up, unless they just needed 10 episodes, and they were like, where do we cut it off? So, but that doesn't change the fact that both episodes as a whole, if you put them as a whole, even singularly, are pretty good. So Pill C is confrontation, and they get different scenarios. So of course she's got the fantasy fantasy that, you know, her sister Ellie lived for this kind of stuff, and Owen I actually like his story better just because it's like the mobster type of world. It gets Gabriel Byrne back to be his father, his gangster father, who likes to hurt people with drills. And you get to see like this kind of like classic informant situation in this. All of the and in throughout these fantasies in both stories, you have characters that are played by people in their lives, and it's how they're confronting the things that are bothering them. Now we both know what these things are. It's just a unique take on how they deal with it. So in this, she's, you know, playing this drunken elf who is forced to help this little elf who pisses diamonds. That was great. And I really like the dialogue that they give her, where it's just really funny and still kind of picking on her like a sister. Emma Stone, again, showing that not only is she great at dramatic, but like great at comedy too. Like when she's trying to shoot the bow as she's drunk and just like can't, like, it's just pathetic. And then when she does the trick, you know, like kind of crazy shot where it hits the invisible assassin and she looks around, and I felt this way too, where it's like nobody ever sees you do something really great. You're always like by yourself when something amazing happens, and that is so true. And in Owen's world, he's an informant whose family is like the mob. His dad has supposedly this superpower where he always knows when people are lying. And that scene with the drill, man, was pretty gross. Like, you know, and he's like drilling all the way to the hippocampus. And that poor, you know, the actors all, I mean, they went for it with blood in this one. It's pretty violent at times. But like his whole confrontation is just confronting his family and confronting what he did to the girl Olivia, the one who keeps popping up. This time she's a waitress, and she's like, the guilt that he feels around what he did to her when he had his little psychotic break. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, man, you know, it's not his fault that happened. It's his brain. But the guilt that he's carrying around about it is what's, you know, really eating him up. Plus the fact that his family, you know, expects him to, you know, do too much for them. You know, with this whole thing with his brother and them wanting him to lie to save him. But in this fantasy, he's like the supposedly killed baby. I love that when they're having that conversation about how, you know, you had a brother, but he, you know, I got rid of him when he was like 4 months old. He's like, you know, babies can't talk, right? You know, it's good. But then you find out later that, you know, he shows up, and the two cops that are like supposed to be helping, you know, or they want Owen to inform for them. You know, one is the orderly, the nurse from the lab, and the other is his brother's fiance. And eventually when the brother shows up and kills them all, except for her, and talks about how he always looked up to him and everything, but it's like the bad brother, the bad seed. I don't really understand like what that part of his brain is trying to tell him about his brother, except that his brother's fucking crazy and he shouldn't help him. That's what I think. But it seems like the rest of his family will do anything to protect this psycho. So anyway, in her fantasy, she comes to realize pretty quickly that what needs to be done. That she's in a simulation, and she spends a lot of the time trying to convince her that this isn't real. But how do you convince a simulation that it's not real? You can't really do that. It's just programmed to keep you there. What we also find out is that the computer, Greta, is losing its mind like it had before. And now it's basically suicidal and wanting to take everybody, kind of with them. And I like the whole scene with Sally Field, talking to herself. And seeing that basically this robot, this computer has just, she has all these conflicting emotions. And in the end, here's the lesson. And it's one that we've heard a bunch of times, and that's not the full lesson. This is just one part of it, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. AI will kill us all, okay? Because you can't trust these things. You give them emotions. Every time in a movie or a show, you give these things emotions and they turn on you. It is just fundamentally across the board, that's what happens. So it's not surprising at all that this robot has decided to go rogue again. And it's probably just, a way of saying that we need to figure out our own problems without the use of, I don't know. But Owen figures out too that who he is. I like that, he kind of tries to fix himself. He apologizes. He ends up with this fake relationship and has like 7 kids with Olivia, but realizes that it's all bullshit and jumps again from the window, which turns out to be just right outside his apartment. And he sees like that little figure with the hawk and everything, and they use that noise, that sound effect that's in like a lot of old cartoons, like the Super Friends, that bring your own, and turns into a hawk because he had a hawk, and goes to find Annie. And in the meantime, Annie and Ellie have found the lake of the whatever that they need to get to. And what it is the cliff that she died on. And this is her confrontation. But what is it that Dr. Robert said before he died? Is, a lot of people get to that point. They say they want to be fixed. They see what they need to do, and then they can't do it. They get a little bit, and then they can't finish. They can't complete it. And that's what happens here. Is she's telling her, you've got to say goodbye to me. You're not going to be well until you stop dwelling on this, until you stop living in this fantasy that you need to save me. There is no saving me. I'm gone, But she can't do it. And just like he said, they get to a certain point. She's addicted to the fantasy. She's addicted to living in this world where she can still have her sister. And when Sally Fields, Greta, shows up again with this deal that, hey, you can come with me and we can be together, you can have all this crap, she doesn't realize it's a trap by the computer. She's telling her all these sweet things, and Owen gets zapped back to the globular cluster before he can help her. Not that I think anything can really be done. I think at this point, it's the technicians and the other doctors that need to get everybody out of there because Sally Field comes out and's like, what's a McMurphy? Now, a McMurphy makes me think a lot of like not The Shining. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Isn't that Jack Nicholson's character's last name, McMurphy, or was it just Murphy? I don't know. Either way, it sounds kind of like these people are going to end up lobotomized in some way if they don't get out of there. And with the AI controlling things and messing around, who knows what's going to happen in the last 2 episodes. Actually, I think the ninth episode is kind of like the last part of the simulation, and it sounds like episode 10 is like back in the outside world, but I could be wrong. I haven't seen the episodes. But it's really heartbreaking that she, when she's given the chance, when she's telling her, you've got to stop this, you want to get better and you can't. But that's also pretty realistic. I mean, how many of us just can't let go of things? The amount, the power of guilt and grief is a very powerful thing. And I'm sure that there's, I know that I still hold on to things that happened. And it's just a part of me. And how do you let that go? I don't know. Choosing to have the strength to let things go is pretty hard. Owen, on the other hand, seems to be, ready to move on. But we'll see how that goes once he gets out into the world. And that's about it for this. I mean, it's really impressively done. It's really nice and really creative, and it's an interesting way to deal with, this simulation and confronting, your problems. I'm looking forward to episode 9. I'm not going to be able to get to it till probably tonight or tomorrow, but hopefully by tomorrow we'll knock out the rest of this stuff and we'll have a complete picture. So anyway, if you liked this video, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell for all notifications. So that's about it for this. This is Rob at Smirking Gun Reviews saying thank you everybody for watching that chooses to watch this. Thanks for all the comments and all the support. I really, really appreciate it. I love doing reviews for this show. And that's about it. We are at 292 subscribers. We're only 8 away from 300. That's just freaking amazing. I want to thank everybody who's been watching this and subscribing. I really appreciate it. We're just growing a little bit at a time, spreading the love, spreading the reviews, all that jazz. So have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.